The Achilles heel of all Chinese motorcycles has always been perception. The perception that this bike is cheap, nasty, unreliable and made from recycled wheelie bins. Well, Zontes seems to think that this is no longer the case with their brand new S250. You simply cannot miss this bike. This bike is finished in bright orange. There's also a lime green, and the more subdued of the lot is a light blue. Clearly this motorcycle is aimed at a youth market and not an old fart like me. But let's start with its role in the market. This motorcycle is designed and built as a commuter. It has a 249cc engine producing a very underwhelming 24 horsepower, but that horsepower was enough to keep you ahead of city traffic. I drove to Johannesburg earlier this week, and on the N1 it could keep up with the traffic, and that's what you want from a commuter. You want to be able to keep up with the traffic, you also want to be able to pass traffic, but you never want to find yourself in a situation where the traffic is flowing faster than your bike can go. The switchgear has a distinctive non-Chinese look and feel to them, and they feel solid to the touch. The instrumentation, well, that's rather Spartan, and the small LCD screen displays revs, speed and fuel level. It has a clock, an odometer and one trip meter. This bike, in my opinion, is geared towards a more sporty commuting because the front shocks are mounted upside down and it's got disc brakes front and rear. The front brake requires quite a lot of pull before the brakes bite. The engine is fuel injected, so the bike is moderately sprightly in traffic. The main thing is that in town you can keep up or even get away from traffic, and linked to a 6-speed gearbox, even highway speeds can be maintained, and maintaining a steady 120 hardly ever requires a downshift. It is a two-tone affair. There's the bright colors and then a generous sprinkling of bronze. It's as if the guy that applied the bronze ran out of places to apply it, but still had some paint left, so he just went for it. The Zontes S250 is by no stretch of the imagination an ugly bike. It actually looks quite funky with the bright colors. The front headlamp looks like something from a Transformers movie, so clearly, like I said in the beginning, this bike is aimed at the youth market. A couple of things struck me as being distinctly Chinese. The one thing is the ignition. It is as if there's only one ignition manufacturer in the whole of China. That looks lifted from scooters, and it's got that plate that slides over the ignition. The other thing is the plastic over the exhaust. I don't know who decided that it must be plastic, and I must admit that these edges are rather sharp, so that if you do get on and off, you've got to be careful. But the one thing that got me is how many fuel caps did the Chinese lose before Zontes decided to put a chain on the fuel cap. On the plus side, I must say I like the clean lines of the Zontes. There's not a single screw in sight on these panels that attach to the bike, and even the fuel cap on a chain sits neatly under a flap. Zontes sells luggage for this bike as well. The luggage consists of 2 bags, and that is if you do want to go on a bit of a tour. When Zontes first came to South Africa, they took the 3 models in their lineup and they drove all the way from Pretoria down to Mossel Bay to the Buffalo Rally to prove that these bikes are in fact reliable. So, the Zontes S250 is not a terrible bike. In South Africa, it comes with a 2-year or 20,000 kilometer warranty, and their dealer network is expanding. It will not set your heart rate racing, but if the test was, is this a good commuter, it passes that test with flying colors.